34 before 34 results. Last year on my birthday, I made a list of 34 goals to accomplish before my 34th birthday. I wanted to go over the results as well as some lessons learned along the way. Goal number 9, complete a 200-mile ultramarathon. Back in November, I completed the Cowboy 200, a 200-mile ultramarathon across Nebraska. This race took me 64 hours to complete and was insanely difficult. A feeling of exhaustion just washes over me thinking about that race. It was insanely tough. I mean, I was smoked after 100 miles, and then to just keep grinding and grinding for another 2 days worth of running was extraordinarily painful, and I'm just glad I got it over with. I mean, after 100 miles, when I would stop and take breaks and try to get running again, I could barely limp along. There were a couple lessons learned completing this race. The first is this quote from former Navy SEAL David Goggins that says, "When you feel like giving up, you're only at 40% of what you're capable of doing." That certainly rings true to me doing these kind of ultramarathon events. You just have to keep grinding and grinding through and just keep pushing and pushing. It's just all perseverance. The second thing I took away from this race was that there was a lot of effort that went into it, but it's not super meaningful to me that I completed it. That I should choose my goals more wisely and invest this same sort of effort into goals that are more meaningful. And then the last lesson I took away from this was just the power of mindset. At 170 miles into this race, I was just completely miserable and in a really bad headspace. If I continued at that same pace, I would have been out there another 12 hours. At that point, I decided to see what would happen if I just pushed a little bit. And to my surprise, I was able to run. And I was able to run for about 20 straight miles. Just being really aggressive and not letting that self-doubt creep in. I was really surprised at how effective it was. Not only did I finish the race a lot quicker, but it was a lot more enjoyable, having that sort of aggressive mindset rather than one of self-pity. Goal number 19 was to volunteer 100 hours. I ended up volunteering 207 hours, split between hanging out with my little brother through Big Brothers Big Sisters, and also working with a FIRST Robotics team in Milwaukee, of which my little brother was a member. The lesson I took away from this is that you should find volunteer opportunities doing what you enjoy doing. Goal number 22 was to buy an airplane. Back in February, I bought a 1967 Mooney M20F. This is probably one of the craziest things I've ever done. I don't actually even know anyone who owns an airplane besides me. This Mooney will seat 4 people and will cruise at about 150 knots, which is about 175 miles per hour. Jumping into airplane ownership has been a huge learning experience. I actually attempted to buy 2 separate airplanes that both ended up being lemons before I settled on November 90564 Mike, the airplane I ended up purchasing. I'm sure there's a lesson in here about being patient, but I don't think I actually learned it. Goal number 26 was to mine cryptocurrency. Over the course of 1 month, I mined about $18 worth of the Ethereum cryptocurrency before they switched over from proof of work to proof of stake, where, under proof of stake, having a fancy graphics card does not allow you to mine the cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, my computer went on the fritz right after that month, and I ended up having to replace the power supply in it. So I mined about $18 worth of cryptocurrency, and I had to replace a $150 power supply. The lesson learned here is one as old of time, which is that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Goal number 27 was to take my son to 10 swim lessons. He had been enrolled in swim lessons previously and just didn't make a whole lot of progress and would really just kind of lay around in the water. I think it was definitely too early for swim lessons. But at 2 years old, he definitely started to make progress. I think that was kind of a sweet spot in terms of the age to get started doing this. The thing I took away from these swim lessons is that when you're trying to teach a kid to do anything, you need to make it fun and enjoyable. That can be kind of difficult for somebody like me who's just so focused on getting results. I think that idea of trying to make things more fun should be applied to all of these goals I'm trying to achieve. Why can't growing the business be enjoyable to do rather than kind of like this daily grind? Goal number 28, read to Rourke for 300 days. We ended up reading to him for 314 days, and the lesson learned here is just the power of habit. Every night before bed, we'd sit down and read him a book for 10 or 15 minutes. After doing that day after day, it just becomes part of your normal routine and expectations, which got me thinking, hey, how can I incorporate other goals into my daily routine and create habits for each of those? Goal number 33 was a radical life change. My business partner and I gave up the majority of our business to my sister. So Steph is now the president and majority owner of Golden Spike Signal. I'm not sure what the lesson learned here is. So that's it on the goal front. But it was a really big year for the rest of my family. In April, Alexis gave birth to our second son, Rowan. He's probably the chillest baby you could ask for, and also a giant baby. In June, Alexis finished up her surgical residency at the Medical College of Wisconsin and just started her pediatric surgery fellowship at the University of Iowa. So in June, we also sold our house in Milwaukee and bought a new house in Iowa City. When I made this 34 before 34 list, I think I completely neglected having a second child plus selling a house and moving into a new house in terms of my time. So let's wrap it up. It was a pretty decent year. 7 full goals completed, as well as about 5.5 partial goals. Buying that airplane and running 200 miles were definitely big goals that I was glad to accomplish. That said, there were definitely some big shortcomings. I had a goal to waste less than 100 hours, and I ended up wasting 630 hours through movies, TV, news, and social media. I definitely could accomplish a lot more of these goals if I better utilized that time. So yeah, that's my 34 before 34 results. The 35 before 35 list is coming next week.